Hey guys, what's up? History Matters. I love this channel, and I see a new one that I was about to just click on and watch because I was genuinely interested. But why didn't Russia also scramble for Africa? I'm curious about that.
Friday, the movie critics are calling a towering piece
Tom
of
Hanks.
filmmaking is coming home.
She needs new memories.
Tom Hanks could murder 80 people and throw them in his basement, and just because of like Forrest Gump and Saving Private Ryan and stuff like that, he'd always have a place in my heart. So
And
Tom Hanks.
is magnificent. News of the World, rated PG-13, on demand Friday. Go to watchnewsoftheworld.com.
As of the year 1914, Africa was thoroughly scrambled. This was done by most of Europe's major powers, and one notable absence was the Russian Empire, who, despite having much more experience in imperialist expansion than most of its fellow European nations, ended up with not a single colony in Africa. But why? Why didn't Russia take part in
Even
the scramble
Belgium
for
got one.
Africa? So, first of all, Russia had already tried to establish a foothold in Africa, specifically in Madagascar. Now, this was done under the rule of Peter the Great, who sent privateers there to lay claim to the island and establish some trading ports for Russia. Turns out, though, that privateers aren't great at settling, and so this attempt petered out pretty quickly. So, Russia did take part in the Berlin Conference with the other European powers to discuss the division of Africa. Their attendance wasn't to secure themselves territory, though. It was mostly to secure access to Africa for traders and missionaries, because the Russian government wasn't interested in obtaining traditional colonies for several reasons.
I didn't know Russia was
One,
big on
Russia's
missionaries.
imperial ambitions were better aimed at conquering and subjugating its neighbours. Anything that sat on its borders, which were much easier to reach, police and defend, and they played into Russia's strength in its army. Whereas defending a colony in Africa from, say, Britain or Germany would be much more difficult than protecting
That's
Poland.
true. Russia, even today, a big thing about Russia's geography is, that's a pain for them, is that they don't really have any year-round port. Even like St. Petersburg up here, I believe, freezes in some months in the winter. But maybe that's the only one. They obviously have access to the Black Sea, but you have to go through, Suez Canal or go through the Strait of Gibraltar. So yeah, they couldn't really develop a navy. Obviously, they have the Pacific as well, but really, out there and separated from Moscow and the center of Russia. So they just didn't have a real good navy, which means that they couldn't conquer and, just as importantly, defend
Armenia.
a faraway colony.
Part of that was down to reason number two, access to Africa. Unlike Britain, France or Italy, Russia had no quick means to access the continent. The northern route was long and the port of Arkhangelsk was frozen for half the year anyway. The Baltic Sea route meant that Russia had to pass Germany, Denmark, the United Kingdom, the other United Kingdom and France, all of whom could make leaving the Baltic Sea incredibly
Norway and
difficult if they
Sweden
wanted
were...
to. The third route was via the Dardanelles, which could be blocked quite easily by the Ottomans, and even if they did get out, exiting the Mediterranean could be blocked by the British. And the fourth route meant travelling around the entire continent of Asia, which was long and expensive. So no. As such, Russia's grip and potentially even trade with any colonies in Africa would be tenuous at best. Reason 3 was expense. Many African colonies weren't profitable on their own and had to be part of a larger imperial network to make money for the colonizers. And Russia wasn't exactly flush with cash in the 19th century, as demonstrated by its need to sell Alaska to the United States and its struggles in modernizing its military. Now, the Russian state not wanting to colonize Africa is not the same thing as Russians not wanting to colonize Africa. One particular enthusiast was Nikolai Ashenov, who in 1888 launched a...
It seems like a lot of the scramble for Africa was other European countries wanting to really show other European countries that they can do this. I think that, so it wasn't simply just the economic benefit of having these colonies. It was really just kind of puffing your chest out to, Great Britain and France, who were the two big colonizers.
Colonization effort to settle and subjugate this area. There was one problem with this plan, though. The French had already laid claim to the area. Ashenov arrived here in 1889 with a bunch of Cossacks who immediately took control of an abandoned fort here, and it was promptly called New Moscow. The plan was to secure this area and from here expand to control the entire Horn of Africa. That never happened because as soon as the French heard that the land they claimed was being occupied, they demanded answers from Russia. The Russian government denied any responsibility, and so the French were free to get rid of him. Ashenov was arrested and then sent back to Russia, where he was soon afterwards exiled to Siberia. And despite Ashenov's later...
He got so screwed over. Oh, so the big boys are clearly the UK and France, and Russia's like, hey, just go over there and kind of take that over there. And then when France finds out, Russia just pushes them under the bus, like their fellow Russians who are there, and then he goes back and gets arrested in his own country.
Offers of help to the Tsar, Russia's very brief part in the scramble for Africa was over. I hope you enjoyed this episode and thank
Really
you for
great
watching.
video.
Special
I'll
thanks
leave the original link down in the description below. Like always, go check out History Matters. They are great channel, short videos, short and interesting historical videos. So check them out. See you guys.